I spend my life researching and teaching people how to live a powerful life. I am a believer. I stand for the transformation of humanity. I have found my purpose. My name is Gabrielle McGee, and I am the Rebellious Therapist. So welcome to the Rebellious Therapist podcast. And today, I'm also going to welcome Kira, who's been with me for the last few episodes. Kira's in New York, so welcome, Kira. And
Hello.
I know I have to wish you a happy Thanksgiving because today's Thanksgiving in America. So how are you?
Yes, I'm great.
Good.
It's Thanksgiving here, yeah. So we're recording in the morning and then going for a big dinner later, like a Sunday
cool.
dinner.
Beautiful.
So it'll be lovely. Yeah,
Lovely.
I'm excited.
And you're up in the Hamptons?
The Hamptons, yeah.
Yeah, which if anyone, I'm sure everyone knows the Hamptons, but it's one of the most sort of poshest part of America. So
It suits me.
How cool is that, right?
Yeah, but in a day of giving thanks, I'll give thanks for being here with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I will give thanks for we can join the Thanksgiving and be really thankful that you're with us, Kira. And also I'm thankful to have you as someone who I mentor.
Yes.
So there we are.
So am I.
Now today's topic is one where it's been very much part of my work with women and also men. And I know it's something that's dear to your heart, Kira, and something you've been asking for a while. And the topic is all about heartbreak.
Yes.
So we got there in the end.
We did.
So what would you like to say, or how would you like to sort of kick it off? If that's
Well, the reason why it's dear to my heartbreak is because it's what triggered the healing journey for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it just kind of catapulted the last 4 years of my life, and it's significantly changed me for the better. But at the time, it obviously didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
So I think more education and awareness on what heartbreak actually is will help people move forward and kind of impact them in a more positive way, rather than holding on to the heartbreak and then finding themselves in those kind of negative patterns of relationships. It kind of made me take a step back and look at how I was showing up to relationships, to now eventually being able to manage a healthy one, so to speak. It's still hard, but it's healthy,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really why I'm just so excited about it and so passionate about it, because it's really, really hard. And I don't know if the support is out there enough for people to go through something like that.
Oh, can I go back to something, Kira?
Yeah.
You said that how you do relationships. So how can we sort of, what's the connection between how you do relationships and heartbreak?
The way I was showing up in my past relationships, like I'm very anxious attachment styles, so I learned all about that. So the thing about it is, it made me more aware of my part to play in the heartbreak.
Good.
So yes, the other person broke up with me in a very, it was a shock. It wasn't expected. And sometimes you think that person should get the blame, or that's their fault, or that. But I actually had to take a step back and look at myself and what actually that was for it was a really short space of time as well, which is another thing I really want us to get into.
Yeah.
Because you always said to me, it doesn't matter how long it is. Like, it was 3 months on the through the phone, and it was 3 months in real life.
Yeah.
And it tore me to pieces. And just side note, a therapist that I first started seeing at the start completely invalidated my situation, which is where it can be a little bit scary. And it's not right. Anyways, she said to me, she invalidated the timing of it. She's like, that's not a relationship. So completely suppressed and made me feel shame and
Mm.
embarrassment and humiliation
Wow.
for being this heartbroken over something that was such a short space of time. But that's a side note. And then when I met you, you were like, it does not matter the time. It's like the feeling, it's what it was to what it meant to you, how you showed up. It was kind of like my trigger.
Yeah,
And I was obviously bottling a lot of things up at 28 years of age, that it just all came falling down
sure.
after that, you know? Um, so yes, that's really
Great.
how I do. So that's what it made me look at, was to take responsibility for how I show up
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Wow. So, that is something we will probably talk about, but I want to even just bring it to forefront now. There's always value from heartbreak, but while
Hmm.
you're in the heartbreak, it's absolutely makes no sense to say to someone at that point, this is actually really valuable to you.
Yeah,
So let's look at heartbreak. Let's look at,
yeah.
the sort of how we are, how we connect, first of all, as human beings with each other, and what that actual process looks like on a chemical level.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on whenever we meet someone. And when we meet someone, there are going to be a part of that person that we connect with. And that connection starts to kick off a lot of chemical reactions in the brain. So you're going to have your dopamine, your serotonin, and
Oxytocin.
oxytocin is another one, right? So it's like a chemical cocktail that gets kicked off, that gets us really like excited, connected, things we don't get in our everyday sort of living in this world where, we don't have that experience. And then someone shows up in our space, which we're already looking for, and whoa, the neurotransmitters are going crazy.
Takes you out nearly.
Do you know what I mean? Some people can't sleep. Some people are like, so it's got such an impact.
It's addictive as
It's so
well.
addictive. So then what happens is that continues on maybe for months, could be for a couple of years. This, whatever the connection is, I keep saying whatever that connection is, because what happens then, we think it's the person. And then we get addicted to them and we leave them completely responsible for how we feel.
Yes. Wow.
And the other thing, it's like a drug, right? Because we're hardwired to do um, pair bonding. So we actually like this is something we look for as part of who we our makeup, as part of how we recreate. So you can see this. You can also already see the strength of the impact of what people are looking for when they want to fall in love, and and they also want to stay there. They don't want to come away from there because they have to go back to start feeling all the stuff they felt before they got to that state. So now we've got a really strong bond between the relationship, the person, and how you're feeling.
So you're saying we're born with this like hardwire
We are born hardwired to pair bond.
to find somebody,
Find
not find
someone,
somebody, but
fall in
meet
love.
somebody and kind of build a life together, so to speak. It doesn't mean like it's a whole life, but that's just in us. Like
That's
it's a bodily thing.
it's a actual it's how we made. It's how we reproduce, it's how we, you know, if that wasn't there, we probably wouldn't be looking for someone, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't bother, we'd be off doing something else. But we have to reproduce as a species. So it's
Yes.
really, the neurotransmitters is part of what keeps us also what keeps us also what's the word? Connected, but also more, keep the interest going,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. So now, here we are. We're in love. And most of the time we're blinded by that love because we're fantasizing, we're projecting, we're transmitting a lot of our internal stuff onto the person in front of us. No, it doesn't mean love doesn't exist, or it doesn't even mean that we're not in love at that point. But I really think it's really useful to actually understand the process that we're in while we're in the state we're in and have a more sort of educated view on it. Not because what
Yeah.
we do, we just go straight to romance, go straight to fantasy, and we go straight to ignoring anything that could be there that doesn't exist outside our fantasy world.
Well, we go straight to what we were conditioned as kids, the love stories,
The
the
love stories.
princess and
Mm,
all that, and you just live happily ever after, and then the story ends. And
totally.
it's like, well, what happens after you meet and fall in
No,
love?
that wasn't part of it, right? And then,
Yeah.
so what do we do with that? Because
Yeah.
it's not on what we've been taught.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially, in Ireland, in them days, I think it's more now people are not staying together so much, but people stay together forever and ever. And we're taught that. And we actually see it, even though they might not, a lot of them are conditioned to stay. No, I don't have, it's not for me to judge that. That's going to be an option they have. That's their priority to choose to stay or not. But now we're taught we stay forever.
Yeah.
And I know your parents is a great example where, they didn't break up, they're still together. So you have, really conditioned that unconsciously
Yeah.
that you meet someone and it's forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. But nobody talks about the, like you said at the start, the chemical reactions, the cocktail of emotions and feelings that like that you get so addicted to that you
Yeah,
want to keep on, having.
totally.
So then it becomes about the other person. So now you're in love and this is happening, and then the person breaks up with you.
Bang,
Then what happens?
boom, boom. Right?
Or the person leaves, or the person like dies or something, whatever happens.
Totally. So totally, it totally smashes that fantasy and fairy tale story for girls, right? So maybe the other person was not as invested as you were, but because you're in such a chemically enhanced state, it's very difficult to see the reality over with the other person. And they might not be in that state. So they might be an avoidant, or they might be, not ready or not willing, as you said. You weren't long in a relationship, but whenever he, left or pulled away or overnight just was gone, you will have all, and it could be for two dates.
Yeah. And that's one thing I learned, as well as my idea was it was my idea of the relationship that I was heartbroken about.
Correct.
It wasn't actually the relationship. It was my expectations, the fantasy I put on it. Again, like you just, I was 28
Mm.
or conditioned to just get married, have kids around that time.
Yeah.
Um, so what I really had to tackle was everything that I put onto the
Hmm.
relationship. But at the time I wasn't smart enough. I put it on him.
Yes.
But now I know
Well,
that
you
it was
were
the
you were
relationship.
smart enough, but you weren't educated on how it works.
Yeah. So I
That's
just kept looking over there and over there, and why not? Why? How
why.
can you not? I
Mm.
thought
Mhm.
but we didn't actually. When I
Yes.
really pulled it apart, no, it wasn't that. It
I was.
wasn't what
Would you agree? It wasn't even the relationship you thought you were in wasn't the relationship you were actually in? Because that happens a
I
lot.
I 100% agree. And that might have taken me a year
Yeah.
to understand that,
Yeah.
a year or two.
Well, yeah. I'm actually going to tell you a really interesting story of a client I had years ago. She was 15 years separated from the person she was her husband, and it come to me and she was saying, "Look, I need to get divorced," because she was going to remarry, but was really locked into something.
Right.
She was still locked into the past, her marriage, her commitment, all of the stuff that she was conditioned to be
Mm.
part of. But it's 15 years later.
So you can imagine the days, the hours that she was not in that relationship, but still held that relationship with it. I was so unaware, couldn't identify the why. So when we looked at it, what I teach people, and I had to learn this myself, is actually what that becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
And what you're really addicted to is how you felt, how you thought the relationship looked like, the love you felt in that relationship is what you're addicted to, and the loss and the bereavement of that was not something that some people are willing to really confront, feel, and work through.
100%. I
And then what
totally agree.
happens?
And that just makes so much sense because I think there's that's the one piece of advice I would give to somebody now who's maybe going through heartbreak is stop looking over there. Like
Mm,
look, and I know that's easier said than done now when you're
yeah.
this side of it. But if I had maybe that time, like saved that little bit of time
Mm,
where I just kind of took a good look at myself
mm.
rather than spending months and months on why not? Why didn't he want this? Why did he do
The
this? It's
why.
more so like, well, Kira, pull it back here. What actually was that?
Yes, but
So
you
it's
see,
nearly like a do you like self-examine or like the
well,
relationship
so
or
first of all, very good question, right? So first of all, what I would say to you, um, this is another interesting one I see people fall into doing the work. But let me go back to, the minute she understood that it was actually the feeling, the love she felt, or she was projecting onto the relationship that she felt. That's where that was not willing to let go of, or do the grieving of.
yeah.
Once she understood that, she could grieve that loss properly on the actual what was going on in her heart, what she was connecting
Mm,
with in her heart, and really get present to this guy was really, really, his behavior was nothing near of what she was actually feeling. Because there was
yeah,
cheating, there was like really stuff that would not never work in a relationship. But you see what
yeah,
happens, we ignore it all because we
mm,
really want to feel this stuff so badly that whatever's going on over there, it's like comes second.
yeah,
No, when you just to go back to what you said there was, you started to go into the why, the why, the why, the why, which is a really, that's a hole to go down, and then you get locked in there. But also, there's a second part where you start blaming yourself, start
yeah,
questioning yourself. Something wrong with
mm,
me. What did I do wrong? If I had done this differently, if I had done that differently, that's all part of the grieving process.
yeah,
And one of the things I say to people, look, you know, you're never going to stop the grieving process, or should you? Because people try to run away from it. People try to not feel it or go get
yeah.
get the next sort of relationship as quick as possible, grab someone to sort of take that pain away. But actually, that becomes more of an issue and a problem.
I can't tell you the amount of time, the amount of ways I googled what is heartbreak. Like all I was looking for article after article, 8
Yes.
steps to get over heartbreak.
Yeah.
And like there was nothing of substance there. I was
No.
just like finding myself in this like cycle. And then I went over and I was like started to like self-diagnose and then diagnose
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
and all just to find answers or
Or
meaning as to why this feeling was so like at the time debilitating.
yeah, but not wanting to feel it. You're trying to fix
Right,
it.
trying to escape it.
Escape and fix, right? But if you know how to navigate yourself through the process of grief, then you're not going to be going rushing and panicking and looking. Now, what I'm going to say, what I hear a lot of talk about is people giving advice that they're in a relationship and they broke up, and now they're going to approach the next relationship differently,
Yeah.
as if they've got it sorted and fixed and it's all done. And now
Yeah.
I've got this all handled, right? Then that one breaks up. So now what? Then you got to feel the same stuff. You got to go back to the drawing board. You got to, something you haven't learned. There's another lesson for you on the way. And there's a great book out there called In the Meantime. I don't remember who the author is because it's been out for years. And it's all about the relationships you've been in between to learn the lesson, to get to the person that you really want to be in a relationship with at the end. But that's a whole learning process. So it's really interesting because what happens when the other person pulls away,
Mm-hmm.
that everything we were looking for before comes back. What we were looking for to resolve for ourselves internally within an external process, like someone to come along and be in a relationship with. Sometimes it's false security. Sometimes it's like, um, gives gets the attention on somewhere else. But whatever's not resolved for you as a child, it's like that anxious attachment style. This, or things that we identify within our parents that would never got resolved or never got secured or whatever it looks like, right? Well, sitting there waiting on us again.
And I can fully back that up by experience.
Yes.
So I'd say I've been in 3 serious relationships before this one that I'm in now.
Yeah.
And they were all the 3 before that they were all very different.
Yes.
Very different, but the same stuff showing up in those 3.
Yeah.
And then this one now, I've had to do more work than I've ever had to do for this one.
Yeah. No, you've had to do the work this time.
I've had to do right, yeah.
But you've already done the work before you even got there, right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? No, you've
Yeah.
already done the work before you even got to the state where,
Yeah.
then to go in, not blindsided, number one, and also look for the areas. Your awareness has gone through the roof. And then what you're doing is you're looking for, okay, it's like, it is what they call in America conscious coupling,
Mm.
which I'm all for it. I always say to my clients,
So-
look, if you want to get into a relationship, let's start here. Start in the
Yeah.
therapy room. And it really works. It really, I've seen people have major successes, but also the awareness and the understanding of each other and what they're committed to. And some people are not committed when they come to a session. They'll come in and we'll get into an inquiry and we'll look at, what percentage are you committed to looking and being in a relationship right now? And it could be, for some people, it could be 20%.
Yeah.
But now you know.
Now I know.
Now you know.
And I'm not saying that, I'm completely healed and there's no issues. It's what I wasn't responsible for in the last relationships, I am now responsible for in this relationship.
Amazing.
Being my behaviors, my patterns, my triggers.
Totally.
So I'm working out all my dad's stuff, all my mom's stuff
Yes,
in
correct.
this relationship
Uh-huh.
because the person shows up as them.
Totally.
But-
Your transference and projection is all there's going to be, right? So there'll be certain behaviors that will trigger all that stuff. And, as your job is to keep watching yourself, keep in the internal process and really looking at, what's coming up. And every relationship will be different. That's what's really, difficult because the patterns might be the same, but the actual relationship could look very, very different.
Yeah.
And I see people, breaking up marriages, divorced. And some people could be on their 3rd breakup of a 3rd marriage. And when they come into my room, they'll tell me, I just keep meeting the wrong women or I just keep meeting the wrong men. And I said, really? who's on the other end of it? Do you know what I mean?
Who's the common denominator here?
Yeah, there's a theme here. But have no conscious awareness of it
Yeah.
because they haven't done the work.
Yeah.
But I also see, Ciara, there's another area where it fascinates me where people do the work after the breakup and meet someone. And I'm like, oh my God, the same patterns is showing up again.
Yeah.
And they're like no, this is completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. I said, okay, at that point, it's not, I don't have permission to let them know this is not different.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, for me to watch. But there's another lesson for that person. So I've just got to really, have a boundary and let, you know, unless it asks me for that type of work to be done, I won't actually, give them that. Because I'm not God, right? So if
Yeah.
whatever they've got to learn in this lifetime, hey,
Yeah.
I'd love to, save everyone, right? But I
Yeah.
had to learn it doesn't work. Have to save
Yeah.
myself, in my own
Yeah.
relationships. So
Well, yeah, we all do our own work essentially, you're just there to
exactly,
facilitate and guide and
therapist,
support.
therapist kids are heartbroken. Believe it or not. No,
So I
no.
have a question.
Yes, can I just touch on something from me where I experienced my first heartbreak.
Yes, please do tell us.
My first heartbreak whenever I was 12 years old, when my dad died. And he was my secure blanket. He was the one that, to me, when you're a little girl, dad's is never going to go away. He's there forever. He's my security. And then all of a sudden, he was gone with a major heart attack. Overnight, bang, gone. I'm 12 years old. And also, you're at 12 years old, you have no idea how to manage or process any of the madness that shows up inside of that. First of all, the shock, the impact, and the grief that shows up after. And what happens is people forget about the children and the breakups and the impact and the
Yeah.
bereavement. They also suffer and
Mhm.
suffer more than the adults, because adults at least have some way of have more experience to navigate something somewhere, where the children have no idea.
Mhm.
So that was my first experience of heartbreak. And I know
Mhm.
some people don't experience that until they get to the stage of relationships.
Yes.
So I now have to learn, for years how to navigate that and how to, because for me, how I navigated that process when going to deep depression and turned to food.
Mm.
Then people, people around me had no idea how to
So
unlock that.
heartbreak comes in so many shapes and forms at all different stages of our lives.
Absolutely.
It's not just when you meet the love of your life and they
No,
dump you.
no.
It's even as a child, your fish dies or something. Is that like
Exactly.
if
Your
you've no
dog died.
concept of it? Your
My
dog
first dog
dies.
died. I didn't have dogs till I was for many, many, many years later, and I couldn't figure it out. Why not? Because I was really young, but I couldn't figure out. I was heartbroken,
Yeah.
and I had a more recent process I went through a few months ago, where I've got 8 dogs, and 2 of them died within 5 weeks. I still I'm navigating through that grief and heartbreak, and it's a very interesting one because people don't see animals and how you connect with animals as the same process for me
Mhm.
as I would with human beings, even more.
Yeah.
So you cannot distinguish how heartbreak looks for people. That's going to be how they, that's going to be a process for them to determine. I've seen people in relationship for years and are not heartbroken.
Yeah.
So who's to say? Who's to say how it looks? And I think
Yeah.
that's really important for people to understand today.
Yes. That they might have like pressed play on this podcast and be like, right, I'm going to learn how to solve
Yeah.
heartbreak. But I think that's really the goal with our conversations every week is
Hmm.
to give it like a deeper, more complex um way to navigate heavy
Yeah.
heavy things that happen in your life. Like we're not going to give you the quick fix, but
No.
we will give you some value on where to start and
Correct.
what to look at
Mm.
in yourself
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah. Correct. I think just before, I know we've covered quite a bit here. Just some of the areas that I recommend for clients when you're is to really give your teach yourself how to process. And
What
some of
does
those
process mean?
so yeah, some of those processes to really work through the actual, you know, there's going to be a certain reactions that show up inside of heartbreak, and it's called grief.
Hmm.
Then learn how to navigate grief, how to learn how to get the tools. It's like, just because you've gone through heartbreak before doesn't mean it's not going to, you're not going to have to navigate this one.
Yeah.
So if you got the tools, my dogs died a few months ago, but I'm now, I've got all the tools to navigate myself from grief to sadness to anger to loss to fear, all of it. And I have the tools to navigate that. So I'm not getting locked in somewhere or stuck in a process. So you got to go back into, the inner child stuff. And there's loads of meditations, there's loads of stuff, and really hear what the child wants, because it's all about fear, rejection, and that's all really young child core stuff.
Yes, 100%.
That's number
So yeah,
one.
so
You know,
say somebody's going through a breakup right now, kind of what would you like they're listening to this, they're just feeling so depleted,
mm,
so again, like you said, scared, shame, humiliation, embarrassment, fear, rejection, judgment,
and blaming themselves. Yeah,
blaming themselves.
yeah,
Like, what would you say to them now?
yeah. Well, the first thing I would say, number one, is make sure you have good friends around you, and whoever's your besties, and who can really listen to you. But also set it up powerfully. It's like, I just need to talk this stuff out right now, how I feel, how I'm feeling. I don't need advice. I don't need fixed. I really just want you to give me 20 minutes of your time for me to just really have a conversation. I would start there. Second is to learn to really, you know, how to reconnect with the child as well. As I said, that's through the process of meditation. Please find a therapist who understands. And I had this, already, to say a therapist who understands heartbreak. And it's really interesting. I didn't know to start that you were going to, mention that process you have with your therapist. And
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with the therapist to do. If she doesn't understand the process, then find one that does.
Hmm.
And
And a big thing is it's okay to go to therapy for heartbreak. There's nothing to be ashamed
oh my
of.
God, I insist you go to therapy for heartbreak. And also,
Insist, it's a must.
yeah, also reconnect with yourself.
Yeah.
Really take time to reconnect with yourself. Time out. Do not be rushing in, heading off somewhere else to find, that next connection, that next addiction, that next trick.
Hmm.
And don't let the fear overwhelm you, because fear drives all of it.
Yes, that's so true. And everything you're saying applied so to like my process, which
Yeah.
I'm like, and I want to smash a taboo here and now as well,
Mm.
is that time is a healer. There's no concept of time in this. You just have to feel every day the way it feels.
I've seen people 30, 40 years where their husband died, and my mom was one of them, who were locked in that bereavement process and never ever had a way out.
Yeah. So let yourself feel whatever. No feeling is wrong. No feeling is there's just attached no judgment to what
Mm.
you're going through or what you're doing.
Very good.
It's just whatever's going to show up is just trust it's the right thing
It's
for you in that
perfect.
moment to feel out.
Yeah. And it's learning how to heal. That's what I
Learning how
learned
to
with.
heal.
Yeah. Cool.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So I know this is going to be of great value because I've listened to some, podcasts, and, you know, they're all really great, but I just wanted to go a bit deeper into the process and really find and give value and let people understand for the future heartbreaks that they've got something to fall back to or listen to or put in process. So thank you, Kira.
Thank you.
And I'll let you go
Love
for the rest of
that.
your day. And I really appreciate, I know it's Thanksgiving. I know you've given up your time. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, until the next
Thank you.
time. Thank you so much.
Bye. Oh,
Bye.
like and subscribe, right?
Oh, yes. I keep forgetting that one. So everyone, we really want you to like and subscribe. Press that subscribe button if you want to hear a lot. We've got a lot of great how to do processes coming on, and I think it'll be great value and it'll be a great part of your toolbox. So please, subscribe
Yeah.
for the next session. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to the Rebellious Therapist podcast. For more information, you can follow me, the Rebellious Therapist, on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. You can find further information on my website, therebellioustherapist.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.